Hi there. So I saw a really cool video recently on BBC about Israeli desert sand glass. And if you haven't seen this documentary, you can find it on YouTube. I'd really suggest you look it up. But it's basically about this glass that is formed in the desert. And I saw this and it just made me think of soap. So what I'm going to do here is use some of the melt and pour that I recently made, and I'm going to cut this up into little blocks and put it in my round mold there, the one you see sitting there, and then pour a kind of white sandy color soap and then alternate that with like some copper mica just to give it that little bit of the desert look. That was really the idea with the pieces of glass. And I'm actually very happy with how it turned out. Although I think next time I would do it a little bit differently. I don't think I would use as much of the quote unquote glass in it, just to give it a little more variation. And I think I would swirl the gold mica through it a little more evenly. It came out nice, but I have had a different idea in my mind, so next time I'll know to try it a little differently. But overall, I think it came out very pretty, and it smells wonderful. This is going to make a very bubbly soap, because first of all, that melt and pour was made of coconut and castor oil. So very bubbly, makes great lather. And then this new soap that I'm making is a base coconut milk. Then and the oils are only 3 oils. It's 45% coconut oil, 45% olive oil, then the other 10% is castor oil. So again, lots of lather, and it's going to be just a really nice soap, and it's going to look great and smell wonderful too. And I decided to scent this with the white tea and ginger fragrance oil, which I love. It doesn't accelerate in the soap, and it's a very light. I generally use ginger essential oil, and I will make my own tea and use that, but it tends to be a little more powerful, and I wanted this to be very light. It's desert. This is my what I'm showing you here is the coconut milk and lye. I had it in an ice bath, and I left it in there, so it just kind of got really cold, so it's like icy there. So I'm just stirring it up to just break up the coconut oil again in the solution before I mix it into my oils. I have used coconut milk before, and I just loved the recipe. So I thought, why not make that again? And it seems to work really well with the design, and it really did. It held up really nice. It kept its liquidity, but it really did firm up nicely and quickly in the mold as well. But that's also because of the high percentage of coconut oil in this recipe as well. So let's move forward then. All right, so I'm now going to add the I keep saying goat milk. Most of mine is. I'm going to be adding the coconut milk into the oils here, and I'm going to first just mix it in by hand. I want to just lightly dissolve, because it is kind of thick. It got rather thick because it was so cold. And I've also let the oils there at room temperature, which is about 64 degrees at the time I measured this. So I'm just going to lightly stir the there I go again, the coconut milk into my oils there, and just break it up. Try to just make sure that it's well blended before I get the blender on it, because I don't want to stick blend it too long. I certainly want this to remain fluid throughout the recipe so that it flows down through each of those pieces that I've cut up there. And that looks like a lot of pieces down there, doesn't it? And it was. I actually had some left over at the end of this and did some, I had some oval molds, so I just used what was left over of these cut up pieces along with the soap that I'm making. I had a little left over of that, and I just poured it in some oval molds and made some of those just on the side. So I just got the stick blender on this, and like I said, I just want to bring it to emulsification. I don't want to beat this to death. I want to try to keep it fluid because I am going to be separating this into the colors. The base here, I'll be adding TD to just to lighten a little bit, and now as you'll see I won't add very much, and then to the adding the remainder of it into the copper color mica. So here I'm adding in that TD, and like I said, I don't need a whole lot in this amount. I've already poured some off into the mica over on the side. I'm pouring in my fragrance in there. That is the white tea and ginger. Very light. Has just a very delicate smell. When I use the ginger essential oil, that really is the overpowering scent in a lot of soap. So in this I wanted to go, I like those, that is a very nice scent, but I wanted a little lighter. So then I'm adding the remainder of the fragrance oil into the copper mica there. So I don't like to use a lot of mica, not because I think that there's necessarily anything wrong with it. Perhaps it's just that I haven't perfected the use of it. I've watched other people do some absolutely lovely things with it. All right, so let's move on. All right, so I'm going to start adding just a bit of white in. A little bit of the mica, and it started thickened up really quickly there. And I don't know why, because the white did not. I may have just overblended a little. It doesn't really affect the pour, but just something I'm noticing watching you now. So in between, I add the two colors. I'm adding more chunks of my homemade melt and pour. And melt and pour, by the way, has no fragrance, none at all. I wanted it just the way it was, so I could use it in various recipes like this. And if you haven't tried making your own yet, I strongly suggest that you try it. It's a lot of fun. So as you can see, this filled up rather quickly. This is a small mold, and that's all I really wanted to make. There's so much soap left over is because of, well, all these embeds and how many I put in there, because it's stuffed, or it will be when I'm finished here, from the bottom to the top, which is great. I mean, it looks really nice in the soap. Now, one caution I will give you, and I noticed this when I was cutting it. This melt and pour is a couple weeks old since I made it, so it has really firmed up. And when I was cutting it with my blade, with my string cutter, the wire really was strained to cut through this. So I think next time what I would do, if I'm going to be using a melt and pour, I would use it fresh. In other words, I would remelt this and then cut it immediately after it cools, rather than having it that has hadn't cured like this for a few weeks. That's all. I think it would be easier to cut the next day, that's all. You'll see that struggle here in a moment. All right, so I'm just doing a little work on top. I'm going to put the cap on it and let this sit overnight. And we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. Thank you. Now that little pot you see over on the left was a little piece of pottery that I have that kind of inspired all this, and the video that I saw, of course, on the desert sand glass. So sort of the combination of those two, and you'll see I kind of emulated many of those colors in that photograph. And so, look, I just did it again. I can't quite keep it straight there. One of the problems that I find oftentimes happens whenever making soap are the little challenges. Okay, like this. I let the melt and pour get, age for a bit, and so as a result of that, when I cut, it was very hard, and it was a challenge getting the wire down through it, and actually loosen the wire where I had to tighten it up again here. So I know better going forward that I will use fresh melt and pour, not pour that I've let age for a couple weeks, because it does get hard, which is good for use in the shower and bath. You want a good hard soap, but when you're adding it as an embed, you need to keep that in mind. That's why this is a little jagged here. But sprayed rubbing alcohol, rubbed it with a soft cloth, and it became smooth, very nice. So no worry. So just enjoy the rest of this. I'm going to go ahead and cut these. And again, thank you so much for coming. I really can't appreciate you coming. Leave your comments or questions. And join me again soon for another exciting episode. Yeah, this one was pretty sedate, I know. But I got out of it what I wanted. Yeah, these do look a little redder. As I suggest, I will clean these up. They will look much better. Check out the photograph that I put up at the Tickets too. Matter of fact, I'm going to take some more photos and try to attach too. So, thank you all so much. A fantastic week, and see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel.